Greetings and salutations, everyone, and welcome back to tonight's second half. Before we get into tonight's second half, a couple links I'd like to share with you all. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, and my merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. The links to Patreon and PayPal are in the description below, my merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman, Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, the links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It's absolutely free. Click that like button, and please leave a comment. Guys, it really does help, and it definitely matters. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's get on with tonight's second half, shall we? All right, so tonight's second half is definitely a little different than normal. It definitely is. So, last night, or in the afternoon, I received an email with the heading of Important Federal Agent Dogman. Those words. I'm like, what? And in the body of the email, it just stated, I'm a Federal Border Patrol officer. Here is my cell phone number. Please contact me. Name included. So I did. And we talked for about 2.5 hours last night. Now, today's first part of the upload was just a shambles because I was absolutely drained when I got off the phone with the gentleman. Now, what we talked about, I'm going to share with you right here and now. I asked if I could record him. Unfortunately, he said no. I did say, hey, I can change your voice. He said, as of right now, no. I don't know if it's, I don't know why. All I know is that I promised him that I would not use his name or exact location. He is in Texas and he is on the Rio Grande or Rio Bravo. He is of Mexican descent, so he kept calling it the Rio Bravo. And I then said, isn't that the Rio Grande? And he said, yes. He is in the lower section of the state, in an area that is, I guess, pretty close to the Gulf. What he had to share with me was disturbing. Now, we had, of course, just recently talked about dogmen hunting the homeless in locations of Southern California. Well, that was what kind of put a fire under this guy's butt to get in touch with me. He had heard it. He had no idea what a dogman was until about a month and a half ago. And he had reached out to 2 other channels and hadn't gotten a response. So, which kind of shocking to me because I try to respond to everyone at a timely fashion. There are times that I cannot. Believe me, I really wish that I could, but I'm one person doing this. So what he had to share with me just absolutely blew my mind. He and 2 other gentlemen, both of Mexican descent, he pointed this out because he is American. He was born in America. His family, his mom and dad are both Mexican. immigrants or migrant, whatever you want to call them, but they are citizens now. They have been for a very long time. So he and two other guys that he works with, two other federal border crossing agents, were set up on a location where there is lax security of getting across, and where they were on the Rio Bravo or Rio Grande. He kept calling it Rio Bravo because I'm assuming that's what his family, because that's the Mexican, that's what they call it in Mexico, is the Rio Bravo. It's a little less deep where he was and his two coworkers were. They're watching a group of men, women, and children. Now, this is not just, when we hear of illegal immigrants coming into the country, we think of just men, but no, these were families crossing into the country. They're watching this portion of the river, and they're about 60 to 80 feet on a hill. There's a berm. They can see everything. They cannot be seen from their vantage point. He then states to me that, there was 10 to 12 people that were on the shore that had crossed over. There was another 30 something in the process of crossing. What they were going to do was they were going to wait, and they were going to come down, approach them, and take them to a camp where processing could start or whatever. One of the bigger reasons why I think he kept mentioning that he was of Mexican descent is because he can talk to the people, so they're not on edge. And what he said was these people were crossing, kids, moms, dads, aunts, uncles, whatever. There's the people on the shore, there's people coming in, and off to the north came this huge dog. He said this thing was at least 5.5 feet tall at the shoulders. He thought that, hey, maybe I'm at a different perspective here. He asked one of his coworkers, do you guys see that? They said yes. They all have firearms with them. One of them has a rifle. As they're watching this, this dog, that's what he thought at first, he referred to it possibly as a wolf, was at their vantage point, they could see the wolf/dog and the migrant people coming in. At everyone else's vantage point, they could not be seen. The migrant people couldn't see them or the wolf/dog. The wolf/dog could see the migrants coming in, but not the border crossing officers. Now, what he said happened next, he has nightmares to this day about. He told one of the border crossing officers to put a bead on the wolf, and if it was to go at the people, to shoot. There's more people now coming out of the water onto land, And he said, within seconds, Jeff, this is exactly how, Jeff, within seconds, this creature was 50 feet away from these people around a bend, but could see them straight on. They couldn't see it. Within a flash, it had run into the group that was standing there. By then it was bipedal. It had stood up and had grabbed the first person it could, which was a woman and a baby. And it proceeded to viciously attack the people that were on the, not beach, but landing, shore. It didn't hesitate at all. It was attacking and killing these people. The people that were in the water, I have this written down. I couldn't record it, and I was trying to write as fast as I could while we were talking about a lot of this. The people in the water were screaming, "Lobo, hombre, hombre, lobo," just, werewolf, wolfman. And they started to kind of fall back and swim back on the other side. I'm not laughing because this man is having nightmares. He served in the military. He had seen action. He said, what I saw that day was the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. He told one of the border crossing officers to shoot at this animal. They did. They hit it, he believes, in the shoulder, the left shoulder, because how they were standing at their vantage point. When it was shot, it turned and looked at them. It was almost like it hadn't been shot at all. When the creature was shot, they expected, it to stop. It did stop. It looked up at them. They were shooting the Border Patrol officer that had a rifle. He and the other agent or officer had pistols, 10 millimeter pistols. The one with the rifle was shooting a 7 millimeter bolt action. Shot it in the shoulder. It did make a noise. They expected this thing to drop, and it didn't. It actually looked up at them and then looked back at the people who were helpless to what was going to happen. And it started to attack the men, women, and children. It just would, there was no, it was just attacking everybody. It didn't care. There was at least 20 people heading back on the other side there, going back into Mexico. They shot again. It then dropped onto all fours. He said he believes it was shot either in the waist area or leg, because it did make a very loud kind of howl in pain and dropped onto all fours and did not run very quickly. It kind of hobbled away. They went down. They waited to make sure this thing was gone. They went down and looked at the carnage that had been in front of them. They witnessed it firsthand. There was at least 18 to 20 people right in that area that were just savagely torn apart. A few were still alive, clinging. The people that were on shore, There was 12 of them, 10 to 12. Some got onto shore as the attack was happening. They were too close to shore, so they had no other where to go. The others that were coming across swam back. Now, as they ended up calling it in and saying, hey, mass casualties, these people were just attacked. Some other federal border cross agents came in, not a lot, and picked up the wounded and the dead and brought them to wherever. He did not disclose where they were brought to me. A few days go by. He's having nightmares. He is just dragged out completely mentally. Like I said, he had seen action while in the service. He was a Marine, or is a Marine, and he said what he witnessed that day was far worse than anything he had ever seen. There was just indiscriminate bloodshed. It was attacking children, women, men. He did get a little graphic with me, which I'm not going to. But there were people who had lost limbs. And I don't just mean legs or arms. Think of another body part that's attached to your torso. They ended up getting debriefed. And some people came in that were not in uniform. Their badges were not a badge. It was more or less a card. And they were told to just carry on with what their duties are. If they are to ever see anything like that again, to shoot like they did. I don't know how much of this I'm supposed to share, but he did say that there was things that he didn't want me to share, but when he was told not to fire, they were told not to fire at these creatures again, unless they were in harm's way. So if they ever rolled up on a scene like they were, or ever witnessed a scene like they had just witnessed, not to do anything. To pretty much vacate the area. Which he's having a hard time dealing with. I think that's a biggest part of his nightmares. He specifically said, I don't agree with what's going on. It's a political nightmare. But these people who are here and doing, coming over as families and stuff, they don't deserve to be not rescued, or at least not an attempt. But like he was told to stand down if ever seen again. I guess there's encampments across the river on the Mexican side, and he knows a few people that are counterparts of American agents and stuff like that. And there had been small, I guess, kind of, they're not cities or towns. These are like little encampments, shanties, just torn apart. People just scattered everywhere. These creatures, not only in California, have found a feasting zone, but now are taking advantage of an area where people are at the mercy of these dogmen. And he specifically said, I don't know how much more I can do. I can't in good faith do my job and not protect someone. Even though they are not an American citizen, I can't let them be put in harm's way or attacked by any type of creature. He then, after the experience, after being debriefed, they were told that it was a large wolf that did this attack. He, during the debriefing, looked at these men and said, with all due respect, this was no wolf, and there are no wolves in Texas. The agents that were debriefing the men said, there are now. And that's what the story is. That's what is going on. There is now, and accept it. He is now looked into finding out what he saw that day. And when he started to research what he had seen, he came across, books, YouTube channels, and things like that, and started to put two and two together that what he saw was a dogman and a dogman attack. Hopefully, he said he would get back to me if he was going to come on and share, but he doesn't know right now. I said, I can change your voice. I can disguise your voice. The people in my comment sections are amazing. You don't have to share the exact location where you were, dotted on Google Maps or whatever, but, share a vicinity. He's scared, and I can't blame him, because what he saw was innocent people getting attacked. He saw a creature that was shot with 2 7mm rounds, and it should have been down for the count, but it wasn't. He doesn't know if it died elsewhere. They didn't bother following the blood trail. Chances are it probably did die later on, but he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know how to feel. And I can't blame him, because what he shared was absolutely terrifying. So I said, thank you. I won't, share your name. Do you mind if I do share this on the channel? And he said, absolutely. Just don't share exact locations. Don't share my name, please. And if I choose to come on and share this, I'll let you know. I said, all right, thank you very much. And he and I then proceeded to talk a little more about the strange kind of attacks that have been going on and in the recent years. And he brought up Meeker, Colorado, and said, plain and simple, that these cattle were more than likely just, as these dogmen were traveling through, or Dogman was traveling through, it just, stopped and fed. They were hunted. This dogman was hunted down, or multiple dogmen were hunted down. I mean, it really does. he said it point on. He said, Jeff, there were national news talking about this. You have a gentleman that lives in the area that shared the information with you, and after what he shared with you, these attacks stopped. He said, there's not a coincidence to that. He said to me, that is proof that there are agencies at work that don't have humanity's interest at heart. Which is scary, but we already knew that, right? So, anyway, it's crazy. And that's why I actually was, after I'd gotten off the phone with him, I had sat in my studio and we had a long conversation. It was 2.5 hours. And I had to record this morning's upload. I started to talk a little bit about this in the upload that I initially was going to put out, but by the time I was done talking to him, and it was too late. My upload was crappy this morning, and I apologize. I was exhausted. But this is the reason why I was so tired, and I hope you guys can understand, because after he and I talked about that, I needed a break. I needed at least an hour to really sit here and absorb what he had just shared with me. And by the time that had happened, it was like 3 a.m. And I didn't get finished recording today's upload until about 4:30 a.m. So I'll keep you guys in the loop on this. Please, everyone, these things aren't a joke. They're here. They're here to stay. With that, my friends, stay safe, stay healthy. May the Great Spirit watch out for all of us. May He guide us down the path that we call life.